So the meaning, let we be protected, let we be nourished, let we strive with energy and vigor, let our study be enlightening and good, not give rise to hostility. Om peace, peace, peace. Lead us to truth and not to untruth. Lead us to enlightenment and not ignorance. Lead us to immortality and not death. Let the self-manifest Atman grow in me. Om peace, peace, peace. Your nectar-like words and warm and inspiring life stories, eulogized by learned sages, are indeed eradicator of shoots of knowledge. Shoot of ignorance, sorry. These are auspicious to hear and propitious to inculcate in one's own life. Those who take these words to the world are indeed great benefactor of the world. So we are studying Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play. Sri Ramakrishna, a divine life. So Swami Vivekananda, in the beginning, what he says, Pranarpana Jagatarana, Krintana Kalido. He who dedicated his life for the emancipation of this world and who removes the obstacles or the shackles of bondage of this Kali Yuga. Those who take refuge at his feet will not be affected by the shackles of this Kali Yuga. That means all the ills, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, the desires, anger, greed, all kinds of negativity, all these cannot touch him or her. Sri Ramakrishna dedicated his life for the welfare of this world. According to Bhakti school, Bhaktas, they don't like total absorption. They like Leela. They like play. They want to have little difference, like Bhakta and devotee. So, according to that school, Nitya Dham, the abode is also eternal. And Nitya Shyam, God is also eternal. So if there is no play, there is no fun. So God incarnates in this world to have a little Leela, divine play. He takes birth, though he is birthless. Ajopi san abhyatma san. I am Aja, I am unborn, I am abhaya, unmanifested. But I take birth, as Sri Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita. And it is very difficult to understand why it is difficult. And Bhagavan himself said, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha. My birth, though I am unborn, but I take birth. This is very difficult to understand. And I have no karma, but I do some karma. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshi kunjam. In the whole world, there is no work left for me but I do some karma. Out of fun, out of leela, out of play. So, Janma karma chami divyam. So this is divine life, divine birth, and divine leela. Evam yo vetti tattvata. He who knows in reality. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti suarjuna. So those who understand this, they attain to me. And they do not get birth again. So this is the fruit. So in this Leela, he also brings his companions so that the play is complete and full. Even some negative characters are also required. That's why Hajra Mahashaya we can see. But he also brings his retinue, his playmates. So Narendra and other devotees. And we are at that juncture where we are studying their relationship with the master. So with this introduction, now I request Paul to read.
Right on. So we're on number 4.
Yeah. We are at page 866. Those who have books can follow us. Yes.
The master expresses his fatigue while quarreling with the Divine Mother during ecstasy. Although the master did not tell us directly that his body was gradually deteriorating because of overwork, there were hints of this in his loving quarrels with the Divine Mother, which we overheard but could not fully understand. A short time before he became ill, one of us went to Dakshineshwar and saw the master seated on his small cot in an ecstatic mood. He was addressing someone, saying, "Why do you bring all these worthless people here? They are like milk diluted with water 5 times over. My eyes are burning from smoke as I continually blow on the wet fuel to evaporate the water. I'm reduced to a skeleton. It's beyond my strength. Do it yourself if you want it done. Bring some good people here who can become spiritually awakened with 1 or 2 words." Another day, he told his devotees, "Today I prayed to the Mother. Please give a little power to Vijay, Girish, Kedar, Ram, and Master M, so that they can prepare newcomers to a certain extent before they come to me." In regard to providing people with spiritual direction, he once said to a woman devotee, "You pour water and let me knead the mud." A few days after his throat began to hurt, he noticed that the crowd of spiritual aspirants at Dakshineshwar was growing daily. In an ecstatic mood, he told the Divine Mother, "Why do you bring so many people here? You've created a heavy crowd. I have no time to even to bathe and to eat. This," pointing to his own body, "is a perforated drum. How long will it last if you go on beating it day in and day out?"
See, now we can see the point. Sri Ramakrishna, though one with the Divine Mother, Kali, but he quarrels. And sometimes he is totally absorbed in her. But here to show, this is the play that some people, some devotees were coming who had no spiritual content or very small content, or it is not that pure as Narendra. So that is why he was quarreling with the Divine Mother. Why, Mother, you bring these people? So this is also like we can see how the play goes on. As we quarrel with our dear mother, similarly he was quarreling, as it were. So this gives that sense of play, sense of joy, as it were. See, by quarreling also a kind of joy. So yes, go ahead. And then again, he prayed for other devotees so that they also get some power to disseminate the ideas and ideals that he represents. That means renunciation and service, love for God, truthfulness. So all these are ideals that Sri Ramakrishna represents. And he wanted his devotees to get some power so that they can disseminate these ideas. Yes.
5. It is difficult to ascertain how many spiritual seekers came to Dakshineshwar. By the end of 1884, the master's unique spirituality, devotion, samadhi, and immortal message had spread so far by word of mouth throughout Calcutta that a large number of people began to come to Dakshineshwar to see him every day. Those who came once were so charmed that they visited him again and again. It is difficult to determine how many people came to him before his throat disease developed in July 1885, because they never had the opportunity to meet in one place on the same day. This was good in a way. For a long time, the intimate devotees of the master had experienced joy as they noticed that the number of his devotees was increasing, because their object of worship and love was becoming an object of worship and love for all. However, if they saw that large crowd in one place, their joy would have turned to sorrow and fear, for the master had told them repeatedly, when many people regard me as God, and love and respect me as such, this body, will soon disappear.
Yeah, that was the prediction. Okay, before that, let us think about Holy Mother also. Holy Mother used to get lots of devotees. So Holy Mother complained to Sri Ramakrishna, you selected some disciples and you left Pipriyashari. Pipriyashari means the line of ant. So many devotees are coming. So there is no end. Sri Ramakrishna would, even by touch or by wish, could transmit spiritual power. So was Holy Mother. But Holy Mother also complained to Thakur that, you came, you selected some devotees, and they were so pure, but you gave me lots of such disciples or such children who are not that pure. And this lot, and Sri Ramakrishna also told her that what this has done, Sri Ramakrishna, what this has done, you'll have to do a lot more. And it is for love of such suffering people. Sri Ramakrishna told her that the people of Calcutta are like crawling, like worms. So please look after them. So Holy Mother got more disciples and not that pure. But she took all because she was mother, all-embracing mother. So here we find that another reason for worry, Sri Ramakrishna predicted that if you see people are respecting me as God, and many people are respecting and many are coming, so that would be my time for departure. Joseph, yes, switch off that video, your video. Okay. Okay, read. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. 6. The master forecasts the time. It's not moving. The master forecasts the time he will leave his body. The master gave us many hints about the time of his passing away. But we were then so overwhelmed by his love that we paid no heed to his words, although we heard them. And although we understood them intellectually, we did not truly comprehend their meaning. Our only goals at that time were to be blessed by his divine grace and to help all our relatives and friends attain a similar grace and peace. So the subject of his departure did not cross our minds. 4 or 5 years before his throat disease appeared, he said to the Holy Mother, "When you find me accepting food from anyone and everyone, spending nights in Calcutta, and feeding a portion of food first to someone else and afterward eating what is left, then you will know that the day is near when I will leave this body." Such things began to happen sometime before the master fell ill. He accepted invitations from various people in Calcutta to visit their homes, where he ate all sorts of food that anyone offered him, except cooked rice. The master had also stayed some nights at Balaram's house in Calcutta. Before the master's illness, Narendra had been suffering from dyspepsia and did not visit Dakshineshwar for many days, thinking that his special diet would not be available there. So early one morning, the master had Narendra brought to Dakshineshwar and fed him some of the rice and soup that had been cooked for himself, and then ate what was left over. The Holy Mother objected to this and wanted to cook fresh food for him, but the master said, "My mind didn't hesitate when I offered the first portion of the food to Narendra. It won't do any harm. You don't need to cook again." The Holy Mother later said, "Although the master tried to reassure me, I was brokenhearted as I remembered his prediction."
Yeah, it's nothing to explain. You please go ahead.
7. The master serves human beings as God. Although the master's body became exhausted from the strain involved in teaching, his enthusiasm for this did not waver. Whenever a competent spiritual aspirant arrived, he knew this deep in his heart. Immediately, overwhelmed with divine power, he would give instructions to the aspirant and with a touch start him or her on the spiritual path. The newcomer's spiritual mood would call forth a similar mood in the master, subduing his other moods for a while. The master could then use his divine vision to see how far that aspirant had proceeded on the path towards perfection and why that person could go no further. Next, the master removed all obstacles and established the aspirant in a higher spiritual realm. Until the last moment of his life, the master served all human beings as God, initiated them into the divine knowledge of the Fearless One, and fulfilled the spiritual longings that had been driving them birth after birth. This, according to the scriptures, is the greatest gift to humankind.
Yeah, so many kinds of gifts we find. Gifts of physical articles, gifts of, say, money, material, but this is a different kind of gift altogether. This is spiritual gift. And it is not given by ordinary people. As Swami Vivekananda said, there are 4 kinds of dana. So annadana. Annadana means giving food to hungry. Then come, but you see, annadana is only for a few hours. Then it is digested. So that is not permanent, it's temporary. The second is that Jivan Dana. Somebody is suffering, ailing, and diseased. To such a person, one can offer medicine and diet. So that is also temporary. But third kind is Vidyadana, imparting knowledge. So that improves that person's lot, and that also improves others' lives. So Vidya Dana. The fourth is Dharma Dana, the gift of spiritual knowledge. But it is not given to everyone to give that Dharma Dana. It is only to those who practice it in their own lives and also have authorized for that. So Dharma Dana is not given to everyone. Sri Ramakrishna was imparted, Sri Ramakrishna imparted Dharma to people. It's because he was authorized for that, and he was incarnation himself. Yes, go ahead.
8. The master's ability to detect people's hidden thoughts and impressions. We always saw vividly in the master a power to detect people's hidden thoughts and impressions. This ability of his is excellent evidence that his mind was never affected by the condition of his body, be it in ill or good health. Although he knew everything that was hidden in the minds of others, he never divulged this in order to display his divine power. He told only what was good for an individual and pointed out the higher path. Sometimes he would reveal his divine nature to the heart of a fortunate individual to strengthen that person's faith and reliance on him. Here is a commonplace example to help the reader easily understand this. 9.
Yeah, just a minute. I'll take 1 minute. Yes, okay. Yes, please go ahead.
9. An example. In August 1885, hearing that the master's throat pain had increased, a woman devotee whom we knew well was preparing to visit him in Dakshineshwar. When a neighbor heard of this, she asked, "Today I have nothing at home but milk to offer to the master. Will you kindly take this small jar of milk to him?" The devotee refused, saying, "There's no lack of good milk in Dakshineshwar, and I know that milk is allotted for him there by the temple also. It's difficult to carry milk, and I don't think it is necessary." When she reached Dakshineshwar, she found that, due to his throat pain, the master was unable to eat solid dishes such as rice with vegetables. He could eat rice with milk only. The Holy Mother was very anxious because that day the milkwoman had not been able to supply the allotted milk to the master. The woman devotee regretted that she had not brought that milk from Calcutta. She asked if milk was available in the village of Dakshineshwar and was told that near the temple garden, Mrs. Pandey, a non-Bengali woman, had a cow and was selling milk. The woman devotee went to her house and learned that the milkwoman had sold almost all her milk, only a cup was left, and she had boiled the milk to preserve it. The milkwoman sold it to her because she knew it was badly needed. The woman devotee brought the milk, and the master had his meal of milk mixed with rice. When the master went out to wash his mouth after the meal, the woman devotee poured water for him. Later, the master privately called the woman devotee to him and said, "Look, my throat is very painful. You know a mantra to cure the disease. Please repeat it and pass your hand over the affected area." The woman was dumbfounded at first, then did just as the master requested and passed her hand over his throat. Later, she went to the Holy Mother and asked, "How did the master learn that I know that mantra? I learned it long ago from a woman of the Goshpara sect because I knew that it would be very useful to me in accomplishing some worldly goals." But eventually I realized that the goal of life is to call on God without motive, so I renounced it. When I told my life story to the master, I didn't disclose that I had received a Kartabhaja mantra. I hid that part from him because I thought he might not like it. How could he know about it? Smiling, the Holy Mother replied, "Look, he knows everyone's thoughts and actions. He doesn't hate anyone for doing something sincerely with good intentions. Don't be afraid. I also was initiated into that mantra before I came here. When I told him about it, he said, 'There's no harm in your having that mantra, but now you must offer it to your chosen deity.'"
Yeah, so this is that shows that the power of Sri Ramakrishna, that he could see the thoughts of others, and also he would inspire devotees to do something. Say, like in that devotee's mind, it came that the milk should be sent to Dakshineshwar, but somehow it did not happen. This, all these are Leela, the divine play. How devotees' wishes are fulfilled. Devotees want play with God. And this way, that play is fulfilled. So somebody receives, somebody gives. And secondly, that whatever power one has, the occult powers, Sri Ramakrishna would absorb in his person, so that only this desire that we should attain God, that should remain in that person's mind and nothing else. So these we can see here. Yes, go ahead.
10. The master's throat hemorrhages as his disease worsens. The devotees discuss taking the master to Calcutta. In the last part of August, the master's throat pain kept increasing, and the devotees could find no solution to the situation. During that time, an incident took place that clearly showed them that they needed to make a decision. One day, a woman devotee from Bagbazar invited the devotees to her house for supper. She wanted to have the master at her home as well, but had all but given up that hope because the master was not well. Nevertheless, she sent a devotee to Dakshineshwar, hoping that the master could visit her house even for a short time. By 9 p.m., that devotee had still not returned, so without further delay, she prepared to serve the devotees she had invited. Just then, however, that devotee returned with news. Today, the master's throat has hemorrhaged, so he cannot come. Narendra, Ram, Girish, Devendra, Mahendra, and the other devotees became extremely anxious. After some consultation, they decided that they should rent a house in Calcutta where the master could be brought for immediate treatment. Seeing that Narendra was very sad during supper, a young disciple asked him why. He replied, "He who has made us all so happy may be leaving us. I've been reading medical books and questioning my doctor friends. They all say that this kind of throat ailment can develop into cancer. This bleeding makes me even more afraid that it is cancer. If so, there's no known cure for it."
Yeah, that gradually his health was deteriorating, and that bleeding hastened that that tendency. So yeah, like nothing much to explain. Yes, go ahead.
11. The master moves to Calcutta for treatment and stays at Balaram's house. The next day, a few senior devotees visited Dakshineshwar to ask that the master move to Calcutta for treatment. He agreed. These devotees had rented a small house on Durgacharan Mukherjee Street in Bagbazar because one could see the Ganges from its roof. Soon they brought the master to Calcutta. The master had been accustomed to living in the spacious temple garden of Dakshineshwar on the Ganges, and when he entered this tiny house, he declined to stay there. He immediately walked to Balaram's house on Ramkanta Basu Street. Balaram cordially received him and invited him to stay there until a suitable house could be found. The master agreed. And Swami, there's a picture there. Do you want to show that, or do you have a picture there?
Balaram's
Group of Ramakrishna's devotees.
Yeah, this is later, like this one.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
12.
So this is his ailment gradually was worsening, and now treatment will go on. Yes, go ahead.
12. Prominent physicians are called in and the disease is diagnosed. A house is rented at Shayampukur. The devotees began to search for a suitable house. Meanwhile, considering it improper to waste any more time, the devotees had invited some prominent Calcutta physicians to give their opinions regarding the master's disease. Ganga Prasad, Gopi Mohan, Dwarikanath, Navagopal, and other Ayurvedic doctors examined the master and determined that he had contracted Rohini, an incurable disease. When a devotee asked Ganga Prasad privately, he said, Rohini is what the medical doctors call cancer. Although a treatment has been mentioned in the medical books, this disease is considered incurable. Receiving no hope from the Ayurvedic doctors and knowing that too much medication did not suit the master's system, the devotees thought it reasonable to have him treated with homeopathy. Within a week, they rented Gokul Chandra Bhattacharya's house on Shayampukur Street for the master and agreed to put him under the care of Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar, a famous Calcutta doctor.
Yeah, see, like Dakshineshwar is about 6 miles upstream of Kolkata. Now it is included in Kolkata. And Bagh Bazaar is closer to the downtown. And near that, about a mile or so, that is Shyampukur. Now that also has come to our organization. So it is now a branch center, Shyampukur Bhati, where Sri Ramakrishna stayed. And after this, after staying there for about 2 months, he moved to Kashipur Garden House. So that also has come to the order, Ramakrishna order, Ramakrishna Mission or Ramakrishna Math. So, yeah, these are places where Sri Ramakrishna stayed and interacted with devotees. Yes, go ahead.
13. People flocked to see the master at Balaram's house. News of the master's move to Calcutta for treatment spread from person to person throughout the city. Crowds of people, both friends and strangers, continually invaded Balaram's house to see the master, making the house as joyful as a festival ground. Although the master remained silent from time to time in deference to the doctor's advice and his devotees' fervent requests, he got involved in spiritual discussions with such enthusiasm that it seemed he had come there for that sole purpose. It was as if he had come to the doors of those who were unable to go to Dakshineshwar in order to impart spiritual knowledge. He was available to them every day from early morning till night, with a break of only 2 hours for his midday meal and rest. During that week, he solved complicated personal problems for many people, attracted many others to the spiritual path by talking about God, and flooded the hearts of spiritual seekers with bliss and peace by entering into deep samadhi after listening to devotional songs. None of us was fortunate enough to be present there all the time, and even Balaram had to go out on errands and was busy making all the necessary arrangements for the master and the devotees, so it is almost impossible to give a detailed account of that week. We shall present the following incident to show the reader how the master spent those days at Balaram's house.
Yeah, see, Sri Ramakrishna came to the devotees. Instead of asking devotees to come there. So this is though he was suffering, but that is the greater part of his play, divine play. And another reason was that those who are really devotees, they will stick to Sri Ramakrishna. And those who wanted to have some miraculous power or some other, gain, physical or worldly gain, they would not stick to Sri Ramakrishna. So this we find the purpose why he came to Calcutta with the pretext of this cancer, the disease. Yes. Go ahead.
14. An event at Balaram's house. We were in college at that time, so we could visit the master only once or twice a week. One afternoon, we went to Balaram's house and found the hall of the upper floor packed with people. Girish and Kalipada were singing with great zeal. O Nitai, hold me. Today my heart feels so strange. Entering the room with great difficulty, we saw that the master was in samadhi, seated at the western end of the room facing east. His face was adorned with an expression of graciousness and a wonderful smile. His right foot was lifted and extended, and a man in front of him was carefully holding it to his chest with great love, his eyes closed and tears trickling over his cheeks and down his chest. The room was quiet and a divine atmosphere vibrated throughout. The song continued. Today my heart feels so strange. O Nitai, hold me. O Nitai, the wave that arose in the river of love, the wave that brings Hari's name to all beings. I am being carried away by that wave. O Nitai, I have written the bond with my own hand, and 8 female confidants of Radha have witnessed it. Now how shall I repay my debt to the creditor of love? All my accumulated wealth has run out, and still the debt remains unpaid. Now I will sell myself to pay that debt of love. When the singing ended, the master regained partial consciousness. He said to the person before him, say, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. He thus made him utter that name 3 times, and after a while, the master returned to his normal state and began to talk with others. On inquiry, we learned later that the man was Nritya Gopal Goswami, a college professor in Dhaka, who had come to see the master when he heard of his illness. Nritya Gopal was a handsome and devout man.
So this way Sri Ramakrishna was imparting spiritual knowledge and spiritual realization to other devotees incessantly. It is not that Sri Ramakrishna distributed his grace at Kashipur Garden House on 1st of January 1886. But he was Kalpataru, the celestial tree for the devotees before that. That's why, yes. We go to the next chapter. Chapter is the master's stay at Shampupur. Now, after Balaram's house, then he went to Shampupur Bati, the house Shampupur. Bati means house. Shampupur Bati. The name that area is Shampupur. It's near Swami Vivekananda's ancestral home, or in between, we can say, in between Balaram Bose's house and Swami Vivekananda's ancestral home. Okay. Go ahead.
So we're chapter 12. 1. A description of the Shyampukur house. The house rented for the master is on the north side of Shyampukur Street, which runs from east to west. When one enters the house, one finds a vestibule with a narrow passage extending to one's right and left. A few steps ahead lies a courtyard, and to one's right is a staircase to the upper floor. On the eastern side of the courtyard are 2 or 3 rooms. After ascending the staircase, one sees to the right a long room extending from north to south, which was used for receiving visitors, and to one's left, there is a corridor leading to rooms that extend from east to west. The first door on this corridor leads to a spacious room called the parlor, where the master lived. To the north and south of the parlor are 2 verandas, the northern one larger than the southern. To the west of the parlor are 2 small rooms, one used by devotees who stayed overnight, and the other by the Holy Mother for sleeping. The visitors' room has a narrow veranda to the west. A staircase to the roof is at the eastern end of the corridor leading to the master's room. At the top of those stairs, near the door to the roof, is a covered terrace of about 6 feet by 6 feet in size. The Holy Mother spent her days on that terrace, and there she cooked the special diet needed by the master. The master moved to this house from Balaram's in the early part of September 1885. He stayed there a little over 3 months and then moved to the Kasipur garden house towards the middle of December.
So here, I have one suggestion for those who are in India, that they should visit these places. Why? For a devotee, such a place is very sacred. When we go to a temple or shrine, we see some symbol or maybe pictures of God. From devotees' standpoint, they have darshan then and there. So this is, we call also that I had darshan of, say, Kashi Vishwanath. So that darshan is also, it is full darshan. We consider like that. And secondly, as you enter into that atmosphere, you surrender yourself. That way you are immensely benefited. When we enter in a shrine or a temple, we submit ourselves. We keep away our ego. That is why we say it is a sanctuary. We remove all our outer adjuncts and we try to meditate and try to think of God. So that gives immense joy and also that sense of unification. So that is very important for a devotee. For a jnani, God is everywhere, but it is not visible. For a devotee, he is here and now in so many forms. It is God and God alone who is in front of you. And especially the special manifestation is in the temple or shrine, where we can be fulfilled if we have that strength of faith, one-pointed devotion, then we can have this. So it is better those who have means should visit such places. And you can observe your mind also. It calms down. its orientation is totally changed from worldly to the divinity. So this is the advantage of visiting such places. So whenever it is possible, we should visit such places. So pilgrimage is also part of spiritual practices. Yes.
2. Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar takes responsibility for the master's treatment. A few days after the master moved to the Shayampakur house, his devotees called in Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar to treat him as had been previously decided. When Mathur was alive, Dr. Sarkar had visited Dakshineshwar a few times to treat Mathur's family and had become somewhat acquainted with the master. But that had been long ago, and it would have been quite natural for a famous doctor to forget those meetings. The devotees called him in without telling him the patient's name, but he recognized the master as soon as he saw him. He carefully examined the master, diagnosed his disease, and prescribed medicine and an appropriate diet. Afterwards, he spent a little time discussing spiritual matters and talking about the Kali temple of Dakshineshwar before finally taking his leave. We remember that on that day, the doctor told the devotees to inform him of the master's condition every morning. He accepted his usual fee from them as he left that day. During his second visit to the master, Dr. Sarkar learned that the devotees had brought him to Calcutta for treatment and were bearing all of his expenses. Pleased by their devotion to their guru, he declined to accept any additional fees. He said, "I shall treat him to the best of my ability, and to help you in your noble cause, I won't accept any payment."
Yeah, go ahead.
3. Discussions about his diet and care at night. Although they now had the help of an experienced doctor, the devotees were not free from anxiety. Within a few days, they realized that the master's diet needed to be prepared carefully and that attendance would be required in order to care for him day and night. Money alone could not properly satisfy these needs, so they decided to resolve the first by bringing the Holy Mother from Dakshineshwar, and the second by asking the boy devotees to help. But there were serious obstacles to handling these two problems. The house had no inner apartment for women, so they could not figure out how the Holy Mother could live there. They also realized that the guardians of the young devotees would be very displeased if they regularly spent sleepless nights in serving the master, as they were all schoolboys or college students.
So Dr. Sarkar came for the first time, and he had small talk with Sri Ramakrishna. But later, as days went by, we find that he used to stay long hours, 6-7 hours, and converse with Sri Ramakrishna. And he would say, "Please don't talk to others, but only talk to me when I'm here." And he was, worldly person, no doubt, but he had spiritual bent of mind. He had little ego also, naturally. So one day Sri Ramakrishna told him, "Mahim Babu, what are you doing? This taka mud, that Josh. So what are you talking about? Money and respect, etc. Now it is time to engage your mind in spiritual pursuit." So that day Sri Ramakrishna was in his mood. And Mahendra Babu could also understand. So a great devotee as he was. Otherwise, he would not have continued. And not only that, one day it happened that he was thinking about Sri Ramakrishna right from the morning, say about 3 o'clock. He was thinking that he should not be harmed by catching cold. So Sri Ramakrishna said jokingly that I cannot tell him that you think about me, but mother is arranging that. So these are various leelas and incidents that happened when Sri Ramakrishna was at Shampupur Bati. So, yeah, go ahead.
4, an example of the Holy Mother's shyness. Many devotees doubted that the Holy Mother would agree to come to Shayampur. She was an extraordinarily shy and modest. Although she had lived in the northern Nahabat of the Dakshineshwar garden and served the master every day, no one except for 2 or 3 young devotees whom the master introduced to her himself ever saw her or heard her voice. She spent her entire day in her tiny room preparing food for the master and the devotees twice a day, and no one knew that someone was performing those duties from there.
You see, like that Dakshineshwar, it's a big temple, and temple of Mother Kali, temple of Sham Sundar, Radha Shyam, and then 12 Shiva temples. And by 2 sides, there are 2 Nahabats, that means music tower. So mother used to live on the north side, not south one. And it's very close to the room of the master. So, but she was very shy, as we know, especially that time. And whenever she visited Calcutta, she was seen by very few people. Her services were silent. But when she visited her native home, there she was free and could talk to people, interact with people freely. So, yeah, go ahead.
Every morning she arose shortly after 3 a.m., long before anyone else. After washing herself and bathing in the Ganges, she entered the Nahabat and never left it for the entire day. Calmly and silently, she performed all her duties quickly and then kept herself busy with worship, japa, and meditation. Once in the early morning before dawn, she went to bathe in the Ganges. As she descended the steps of the Bakultala Ghat near the Nahabat, she almost stepped on a crocodile lying there. The crocodile jumped into the water at the sound of her footsteps. From then on, she always carried a lantern when she went to the Ghat in the early morning.
Yes. So we'll stop here. Now time is up. We'll stop here. It will continue, but it's a very, very interesting and spiritually uplifting story. You know, this is very important, how an incarnation live, how they interact with devotees. And without any plan, everything happens gradually, everything unfolds gradually. And that way, the devotees enjoy, and the Leela, the divine play, is also fulfilled. So it is a wonderful story, and story means here in America, people say story, but these are the facts. It's not conceived by someone, but real fact. So it's wonderful. So we'll continue. We'll stop here now. Akshay, is it okay?
I had a question.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Why Sri Ramakrishna's body was getting weaker because of giving spiritual power?
Say it again.
Why was Sri Ramakrishna's body getting weaker because of giving spiritual power?
Yeah, primarily that. And also, you know, in divine play, the play does not linger for long time. Then it is insipid. If it is short and cute and interesting, Rather, that is appreciated. Say, Buddha lived for 80 years and he walked long, a long way from Vaishali to Sravasti and all other places. That time it was required. But we see Shankaracharya lived only 32 years. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also lived about, say, 49 or so. And Sri Ramakrishna lived only 52. You know, Sri Ramakrishna did tapasya, a tremendous tapasya. And he did not know when the day was there, when the night was passing. So all these efforts exert pressure on the body. That's why Sri Ramakrishna said, "Oh mother, this is a drum which is already so many holes. How long will you beat?" So, because of tapasya, and that time it was not healthy because of infection, food infection, the life expectancy also was less. If you see, that time, the most diseases were contaminous. It used to get contaminated because of water. So that is also a reason why it was not that healthy. But it is more important that whatever sadhana he did in his life, that was so arduous. It is difficult. And in the case of Swami Vivekananda also, just imagine he used to address 5,000-6,000 people. Sometimes it may be less, but there was no mic system that time. So he has to shout so that everybody could understand. And not only that, it's not shouting like us. It's lifting one's mind to that level, inspiring that. It's like a metal. When it is calm and cold, so that's one state. But when one gets heated, then only it emits heat to others. So Swami Vivekananda used to get spiritually heated, as it were. And that heat he used to transmit to people. And same thing happened to Sri Ramakrishna. So naturally it puts pressure on the body. Body is physical. Though that body is not like ours. It is called Shuddha Sattvik Bhagavati Tanu. Pure. Shuddha, pure. Sattvik. It is Sattvik. And it is divine body. So if you see from another standpoint that this was the Leela. So he has to go. So he went. Of course, because of imparting spiritual knowledge to others, he also became weak. And even, once it happened that he was eating luchi. Luchi means it's like puri, puri. But when it is made up of that maida and very thin. So he was eating that. He cut his mouth. So he was so tender. That Bhavanath brought a photographer. So that photographer wanted to take a photo. So everything was arranged. That time big camera and black that cover. But Sri Ramakrishna was sitting, but he was like tilted a little like this. So he went there and lifted the chin. The whole body came up. So it is a divine body, and he was afraid. Then Narendranath was there, and he said not to worry. And by that time, Sri Ramakrishna was spit straight, and that's why we find this picture. This was taken by that photographer. And you know that corner, one corner was broken. So he nicely cut the whole thing, a circular cut. So what I'm saying, such a divine body is not like ordinary bodies. It's divine. Shuddha Sattvic Bhagavati Tanu. And it is because of so much of tapasya and so much of effort also. Sri Swami Vivekananda said, Karma Kathor. What a tremendous work that he has done. See, 175 years now that he had that advent. Total, 1836 and now. And it will go on. People will discover his divinity. People will get inspired from his life. So he did enough for at least 1.5 millennium. So 1500 years. So tremendous work and thought went through his mind and also body. That had to take a toll. And that is why he was so, the body was not that strong. And that is why Sri Ramakrishna later said that he had to take another medium. So Narendranath, who could go to the West and disseminate his ideas. So because of all these, it happened. So spiritual ideas and also physical conditions, all these contributed. Okay. To his weakness of his body. One is pure Sattvic Bhagavati Tanu. And the physical condition is also not very good. And over and above that, lots of tapasya. And over that, lots of going to Calcutta and doing this and that. So all these took the toll of his ill health. Okay, so we say our prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tatsat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you very much.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Purnam Maharaj.
Namaste.
Jai Ma Maharaj. Thank you.
Namaste, Lalita.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste, Swami.
Namaste, Hari Om.
Pranam.
Namaste, Hari Om.
Thank you, Swami.